I'm going to share this into a couple of groups. Oops. Facebook, share to page. I use Instagram way more, but Facebook's so easy to share it in the different places. So.
Yeah, it's interesting the difference between those two platforms, even though they're owned by the same people.
All right, hello everybody. Going to start here in 1 second. It's going to give the people over on Instagram a chance to see as well.
All the people.
All the people. All right, awesome. And then on Instagram, you're at, tell me you're at, and well, I have it right here. Lalita Luna Love, I remember.
Yeah.
Okay. Live, Enlightened Conversations with at Lalita Tooth Fairy Wit. Hello, cool name.
That's my friend.
Oh, awesome.
That's awesome. It's Whitney.
Whitney, if you want to join us on Zoom, you are welcome to ask questions or hang out. Otherwise, it's going to be on Instagram as well, like this. So. Trying to get this thing set. Sorry guys for making you dizzy. Spinning the camera. All right, awesome. All right, we're ready.
Awesome.
Record. Perfect. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Really excited for today and to introduce you guys to an awesome guest. We have Lalita Love. She goes by Lalita Luna Love on Instagram, and came across her Instagram page not too long ago and saw the love and light she was sharing with her audience, and immediately I reached out to her and asked her if she wanted to have a fun conversation with me, and she said yes. So here we are today, and Lalita is a spiritual teacher and also just by memory what's on her Instagram page. She does Tantra. She does lots of different things that I'm going to let her describe here in a second because my brain is not giving me other things, but just all around awesome human. I know we're going to have a fun conversation today. So without further ado from me, I want to introduce you guys to Lalita, and you can share with the world who you are, what you do, why you do it, all these good things.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you, Noelle, for having me. I am so excited to be here. I do a bunch of things. Like you said, Tantra, I'm a spiritual teacher. I do tarot and Reiki, energy healing, and I'm also a coach. So I do a lot of work with emotions and the way that they affect our lives. I also do a lot of work with sexuality, hence the Tantra, relationships, and the way we relate to each other, both sexually and platonically. So I'm kind of, I've got a broad spectrum of things that I like to share with the world, but I think it's things that we're not really taught about, right? When we're growing up, we're always taught, hey, sex is taboo, like you shouldn't talk about it. We're taught that, the spiritual side of things is woo-woo or taboo, so we don't talk about it. It's great that like in modern society, we're starting to kind of wake up more to these things and talk about it more. And it's really exciting because it's really healing. So I do a lot of work with people who are working through childhood trauma or are working through some level of experience that has caused some emotional suppression, if that makes sense.
I love it.
Yeah.
I what I love about doing this podcast and why I'm connected with you now, especially how you just started off describing what you do, is I get to talk to people from all different backgrounds. And my favorite part of life is, knowing that our energy is, paying attention to it and knowing it can go to unlimited, awesome places. Also can go to some really rough places as well. We label them in English, words like, depressed or powerless, and we're human, so we've all probably experienced, some of these frequencies at some point in life, which is one reason I don't condemn or judge anyone, because that's part of the human experience, and I've been there, so it's no different when it comes to that. And then with some of like the higher frequencies, where it's like we have words like bliss and euphoria and nirvana and like ecstasy and all these really fun frequencies. Like this is my favorite part of life by far, to be aware of them and know how to access these energies. And for me, just there's lots of things that we can do as physical humans. The sexual parts of life have been what's allowed me to access the greatest frequencies for me personally, and then with my partners. So I love talking about the subject. And I think, Lalita, how I found you, I think I was on there and just browsing around, and then you came up as, maybe you had a hashtag of like one of my favorite hashtags is like sexuality teacher or something like that of that nature. I think you probably popped up with one of those. So Instagram knows now to show me different teachers, because it's like I want to talk to them. So I've been talking to more and more of you guys out there. Yeah. How did you? Go say what you're gonna say, and then I won't ask questions unless we don't have things to say. Which I have questions, but we'll probably just talk.
It's all fine. Ask me anything. I'm pretty much an open book. The one thing I was going to say is you make a super valid point about frequencies and different levels of feeling and the labels that we apply to them, right? We label certain emotions as bad, certain emotions as good. We, suppress some, and we glorify others. And one of the things that I'm really diving deep into right now, and that I'm sharing with others, is that all emotions, there is no good or bad. There is, some feel really pleasant, some don't, but they're all really important teachers, right? They teach us something super important every single time they come up. Unfortunately, we're taught to either suppress or glorify. So we latch onto and cling to those feelings like euphoria, ecstasy, nirvana, and then we try to suppress and shove down sadness, anger, rage, depression. And what that does is prevents us from learning super important lessons, right? Things that we're meant to learn to help us kind of grow and expand to that next level. And a lot of that happens as children. So you make a super valid point about like the labels that we apply to emotions. Those can be really detrimental if we're not mindful of that. That was my point. That was all I wanted to say.
I love it. No, seriously, you say whatever flows out. Like I will pull from you everything that I'm curious about. This is a conversation I want to have with you anyway, and we're just recording it and sharing it. So, awesome. But no, I love what you're saying, because for one, if any of us had an experience, and we might think and there's one time where I thought that I would just erase all of the traumatic experiences that I've had in my life because I didn't know what I know now. And now, being aware of what I'm aware of now, without those really traumatic experiences, I definitely wouldn't have learned the lessons that I've learned, and I wouldn't be as clear as far as the things that I want to experience here in this life and create, and all of this as far as our journey goes. And so I can really appreciate all the experiences that I've had in life, awesome and not so awesome, and just know that I'm really excited for more awesome experiences, and also know that I'll experience other experiences that maybe aren't so pleasant. When it comes to the different frequencies and the labels we put on them, though, I definitely am one that I understand how to go from, like, for me, it's like I like to be at peace. I like to just like be chill, and I know momentum is what carries us up to the higher frequencies. Like, so, if we're chilling at peace and then all of a sudden we have an idea pop in our mind, like, ooh, that's a really good idea. Like, I'm excited to explore that. And then all of a sudden you explore it, and now you're like passionately doing something, and like you're loving waking up in the morning and doing something that you feel like you're called to do, and you're just experiencing this life. Like, yeah, that can be like super blissful for sure. So not that it's good or bad or right or wrong, it just is. Like you said, I love how you reminded of that, because it's so important just to know that it just is. We're always at a frequency in every moment of life, and it just is what it is. I like to help people be mindful of it so you can be aware of it, and then if you want something different, then there's ways to be able to access something different if we choose,
And I think it's really important for people to remember too that no single state of being is permanent. We get so attached to the good things, and then when we're not feeling so great, we think it'll last forever, and that's where that clinging and suppressing dynamic comes from, because we're like, this is going to be forever, or there's something wrong with me because I feel this way. And it's really important to remember that we go through cycles, and no part of that cycle lasts forever. So enjoy the highs, but also be mindful that the lows don't last forever, and take what you can from those lows, so to speak. Learn the lessons that it's giving you, because unless you allow yourself to do that, you're going to repeat that same cycle over and over and over until the lesson is learned. That's when you move on to the next level, right? When I explain this to my clients, I call it the stupa theory. So it's like you're walking up a stupa, and there's one spot in particular that you trip. And you're like, oh, well, that was unpleasant. And you get up and you continue to walk up the stupa, and then you trip in the same spot at the next level again. And you're like, what the hell? I thought, why? Why is this happening again? Then you do it again on the next level, and you're like, what the hell? And then you get to the next level, and you're like, oh, there's that thing again. So you're going to go through cycles, and you're going to trip over the same thing each time, but you become more mindful of it, and you're able to deal with it in a way that's more constructive the more often that you interact with that particular cycle. So depression, for example, is one of my cycles, and I'll hit these highs and I'll feel really good, and then I'll hit a low. But now I'm at a point where when I hit the low, I'm like, okay, this is a familiar space. I know there's something to learn here, and I try my best to just hold space for that instead of be like, there's something wrong with me. This is bad. I have to get out of here. I have to suppress. I have to pretend I'm happy. I have to distract myself. I have to do all these things. Instead, I try to really just hold space for that feeling and allow it to be there. Because once you let the feeling flow through you, you make space for other ones because you release it. So it's really important for people to remember that it's a cycle. Nothing lasts forever.
Absolutely. This too shall pass. I've been reminded of this at the beginning of this like period of interesting time that we're having in humanity right now. I had like 3 people in like a period of like 24 hours remind me that, because it wasn't that I was even complaining, but it was more of, I'm used to, like, I'm an extrovert for sure. I can very easily chill by myself too. I live alone. Like, it's very easy for me also, but I do enjoy human connection. Like, it's my favorite part of life. And so at the beginning I was kind of like, this is different. Like, I can't just like walk up to people and like start talking to them now. Like, I have to maintain a 6 foot of distance. Like, that's strange. Like, there's humans that have masks on in public right now. Like, weird. So I guess I won't talk to you because you're not open to that. So yeah, that was a reminder that I needed, that everything was going in cycles. And since then, been able to release it and had some awesome experiences now, to where sometimes I forget that we're going through, this quarantine period, because I'm just focused on the things that I can do and the things that I am excited to evolve. I'm not thinking of the things that I can't do, like go to the beach or go to the gym or whatever it is. But I really want to point out something that you said that's so important, and why I really never will let anyone like label themselves as like a permanent label around me. Like, whether they say, oh, I'm a happy person, or I'm an anxious person, or I'm a depressed person, or I'm a whatever, because it's always in the moment, for one. Very important. Like, energy is never just like chilling at one place. So maybe you might be anxious right now, but that doesn't make you an anxious person. You're just anxious right now. And even if you're like aware that you're anxious right now, like, that's awesome, because now you can, do what Lalita just said, as far as let the emotion flow through you, or whatever we know how to do. Once you've experienced before and you've come out on the other side, like, you at least have a life experience, probably more than one, to where you've come out on the other side. So just great to remind ourselves, like you said, like, this too shall pass, or we'll be able to move through this, and all of these. So even the reason, like, I call this podcast Enlightened Conversations, nobody's like permanently enlightened ever. In the moments though where you're connected, where you're like flowing passion, energy, you're empowering other human beings. In those moments, you are enlightened, and so that's the conversation I knew that I would have with people, just playing in that fun space. So that's awesome. I love that you brought that up. As far as, there's no like permanent. I never let people like permanently label themselves, no matter which end of the spectrum it is, because sometimes is the answer to that.
Ebbs and flows. Emotions are like water. They're if you are into elements, water is the element of emotion. So it ebbs, it flows, it's fluid, it moves. It's not like you said, it's not like this hard, solid, like this is what it is all the time. It changes shape constantly. It's just learning how to flow with that versus resisting the current and just trying to fight it. So you make a super valid point, and I also want to say for anyone who's like watching right now or anyone who's listening after the fact that it's also okay if you struggle with letting that flow, because we're not taught how to do that. It's taken me many, many years to get to the point where I'm even able to sometimes do that. And sometimes I still get stuck. Everybody does. It's okay if you struggle with letting it flow. It's a practice. It's like meditation. You have to practice it in order to get to the point where you're able to do it better, quote unquote. I hate using the word better because it implies that there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. But to allow things to flow in a way that is easier for you to process. But if you're not in that place yet, it's okay. You can get to that place. It just takes practice. Everybody can do it. Everyone can get there. It's not reserved for special people. Everyone can do it. It's just, unfortunately, when we're little, we're not really taught how to do that. We're taught these are bad, these are good, glorify these, suppress these. And it takes time and practice to get to a point where you can let it flow. I still sometimes get stuck too. Everybody does. Even experts get stuck. Nobody's perfect. So if you're in that space, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. You're a human. Congratulations, you're having a human experience. Like,
For sure.
It's totally normal.
For sure. For sure. I've been giving myself a lot of grace, Lalita, and I encourage everybody out there too as well. When you notice yourself, when it matters to you, when any area of life matters to us enough to where we pay attention to it, and we're not making ourselves wrong for it, because that will only increase momentum to where we feel worse than we did a moment before. So when we're paying attention to it, and like you just mentioned, like we find ourselves being able to move through it. And what I've noticed in just my own life, just over the years, is I'm able to move through things much faster because of just falling back on the things that I know how to do and know how to allow things, or whether I need to just like chill, like, meditate, like just whatever it is. Like a lot of times if my frequency is not how I like it to be, like say I'm like anxious about something, which typically is, future based, and I'm very mindful of that right off the bat. And so I know if I'm anxious about this future thing, like right now, and I just continue to like push through and like want to still figure it out, I'm going to make myself feel worse. So that's just a really great awareness to have right there. And so from there, it's like, well, this frequency is not one that's my favorite. Like I prefer to not feel this heavy energy. So how can I just turn my life? How could I surround myself with some things that might be a little bit a better frequency for me? And just, I'm not saying anybody should do this, but like there's specific spiritual teachers that I like I'll just put on in the background on YouTube or something, to where that's just a frequency that's coming out that is at a different place than where mine was a second ago. And, for me, it's just, I've found over the years, like I can move through things much faster, whether it takes a few minutes or a few hours or whatever it is, but typically it doesn't take like full days anymore, where it used to like it could last a day or a week or, much longer. So just in being able to like congratulate ourselves for evolving and allowing ourselves to go through that process I think is pretty awesome for all of us,
Yeah, and you make a super valid point in that the process is different for everyone. When you were saying, I'm not saying everyone should do this, like everyone has different tools that work for them, because we're human and we're different and we have variety, right? So for me, meditation is a really strong one. Physical movement is a really strong one. Reading, and like you said, surrounding myself with humans who are at the frequency that I want to be at. So, at the beginning of this year, I moved across the country very abruptly, left New York, left everything behind, moved to Portland. And when I arrived, I was at this super low emotional frequency because I was having a really difficult time. But the people that I live with, the people that I surround myself with here, the people I've been choosing to interact with have very rapidly helped me elevate my frequency to a level that feels good. And it allows me to move through those spaces, like you said, much faster. So probably one of the best pieces of advice I can possibly give to anyone who is at a emotional place they don't feel good in. Look at the people you're surrounding yourself with and ask yourself, do these people support me? Do I feel supported? Do I feel loved? Do I feel like I can be myself? Or do I feel like I have to pretend? Do I feel like I have to be someone I'm not? Do I feel like it's unsafe for me to show who I really am? Because if the answer to any of those is yes, then chances are you're around an unhealthy person, and that's okay. But for your own health, you might want to consider changing who you're surrounding yourself with, because that really affects where you're at emotionally and the frequency that you're at.
100%. What Lalita was saying is so important, and this will give you even more. Not that you need permission from me, but this will give you more permission to, if you have to make some of those decisions in your life when it comes to relationships or just people that are in your life. A fascinating fact that I've discovered over the last few years. Maybe you've heard this out there, maybe you haven't, but on average, all of us as human beings, we think about 70,000 thoughts per day. And they've now discovered that over 90% of those thoughts, by the time we turn 30, and over 90% of those thoughts have become habitual. So if we were thinking the same anxious, worried thoughts yesterday, odds are 90% of those thoughts we're going to bring into today, bring into tomorrow, especially when there's no awareness that we're doing it. Like, these are blind spots. And I've had plenty of blind spots in my life where I just wasn't aware that I was thinking about things in a certain way that was affecting my energy, maybe being critical of myself or of others or of society or whatever it is. And so it's great news for all of us is we can rewire that, like at a brain, like in the brain, we can literally rewire it. But we have to be aware of it first, like, because without awareness, we have no choice. And then we have to actually want to. Like, you can't want for someone else to change. That's why out there, if you've ever tried to like change another human being, good luck with that. if they don't want it for themselves, then it's not going to happen. So my point is, if there are people in your life that right now their 90% is maybe just upset or frustrated or just not being in the frequency that you really want to experience. Not that they're bad people, not that there's anything wrong with them. But if that's what's likely going to be their frequency the majority of the time that you're around them, and you want to live your life in a different place, it might be a good idea to limit your time for sure. Because I always say, like, we don't get any like extra bonus points in life for like turning on like the most horrific thing to watch on the news or something, where it's just like doom and gloom and all this is happening, and then you still trying to stay there like all happy and joyful, like watching something horrendous. Like, good luck with that. Like, if you can do it, like, you're super powerful. I prefer not to challenge myself with that, because I like to live at a certain frequency. I like to at least be at peace, and I know there's certain things that if I see it, like, I'm not going to feel peaceful. So just extra permission to audit the relationships that we have in our life and not make them wrong or try to change them. It's just a matter of just being aware of it, and maybe you could share some things with them that, if they're open to it, that have helped you maybe go on your journey as far as where you are. And it's really all we can do. We can't vibrate or choose anyone's frequency for them. It's just not possible.
You can't force someone to heal. It's not your journey to do that. I think another thing that causes a lot of emotional pain for people is they take responsibility for other people's feelings, or we make other people responsible for our feelings, instead of taking ownership of our own, or understanding that we can offer support as much as we can, but you can't force someone to heal. You can't force someone to want to do that work. They have to do that themselves. They have to get there themselves. And like you were saying, we don't get bonus points by tormenting ourselves and staying in this place where it's unhealthy for us, right? One of the best ways to show someone how to heal is to do it yourself and lead by example. And if someone wants to be there with you, they will be. And if they don't, it doesn't mean you don't love them or care about them, but you're also important too, right? So often we're taught it's like selfish to put yourself first. In fact, it's not. Putting yourself first is the best way to help others grow and heal, because when you're at your best, other people want to come up to that level with you. But if you're keeping yourself down here, you can't show people how to get up here. So you have to do that inner work and take care of yourself first. And there's often feelings of guilt when we decide that, hey, this person is not healthy for me and it's time for me to kind of go on my own path. And that comes from taking responsibility for someone else's feelings. We have to remember that we can only take responsibility for our own, and we can only heal what's ours to heal. We can't force other people to do it too. I think that's like a really important point to make, because I struggled with that for so long. For so long, I thought, people felt a certain way because of me, and it's not because of me. I may be mirroring something to them that they don't like and don't want to look at, but that is not because of me. That is their own work to do. It took me a very long time to figure out that distinction, and sometimes that line still gets blurred for me because I'm not perfect and I'm human, and sometimes my brain takes that same pathway that it used to take. Like you were saying, it's rewiring, and that takes time. So it's important for everyone to remember you can only take responsibility for your own feelings and be mindful of the way that you are working with those. Instead of suppressing or glorifying, letting them flow. That'll help you really kind of move up in frequency much faster.
Absolutely. I love this conversation so much, Lalita. Like, I was already nodding my head yes before you even said, because I already knew it was coming out, and it was like, I was like, ooh, I want to share with people, and then you shared it. As far as just the best way that we can help anyone is by being an example of it. Like, if we want to show people an example of being healthy or happy or whatever, just live it yourself. Be that light for someone, and what that does in addition. And what I love knowing about life, and as us here, as we have these illusions that we're separate, and that you're Lalita, I'm Noel, and you're whoever you are out there, and I feel like that's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, human illusion, that we're just all these separate little entities walking around, and when in truth we're just different physical expressions of the same non-physical energy, whether you want to call it out there the universe, God, love, all that is, source, spirit, infinite intelligence. Like, it's what's allowing the planets to orbit, your hearts to beat, your minds to work, the ocean to flow the way it flows. Like, everything in nature is flowing with this non-physical energy, and that's what's making up all of our physical bodies. And so, if we can realize that by you being that truth, by being that light, by being an example of this, when you're connected, just make it even simpler. If you're at peace, if you're feeling loving, if you're anything where it feels good, like you feel in tune, like you feel in the flow, you feel in the zone, like in those moments, you're being the light, you're being an example for everyone else. And because we are all mirrors for each other, like you said, like someone can see themselves in you by saying, wow, Lalita, this awesome human. Like, she's like obviously experienced a lot. She's experienced the human experience. And at the same time, like right now, like she's choosing to be loved, to be light. And that can inspire any of us, because if we can see that in another person, that's a reminder for us of who we truly are. And then we get to choose to live that and then be a reminder for someone else. And same thing if we're, like, I love that you mentioned this too, like if we're pointing out in another human being anything where we're condemning them or judging them or making them wrong for something, also a mirror for us as well. So that's like, if you want to know how you can, heal or how you can evolve, a great place to start is where you find yourself condemning or pointing out or judging others, because again, that's a mirror for you as well. So love how Ram Dass said it, we're just all walking each other home. We're just all mirrors for each other. So I love knowing that about life so much. You said so many awesome things right there.
Thank you. Just speaking from the heart.
Yeah.
I also, this comes up a lot for people in terms of sexuality as well. Like we suppress our desires, or we but we feel ashamed and guilty because we are taught that, sex is shameful. Sexual energy is creative energy. It's life force energy. It's what makes the universe happen. And it's really sad that we're taught to not embrace that more. We're taught that it's dirty, it's taboo, it's a shameful thing. You should feel guilty, keep it quiet, don't express it. And it gets skewed and kind of like perverted in a way where it's like it comes out twisted, and it gets expressed in ways that are either traumatic to others, traumatic to us. And sexual energy is a normal human experience. So I do want to first say, there's nothing wrong with you if you're a sexual being. That is important. That is an important part of being human. That is something I struggled with for so long. I was just like, sex is like not a thing you talk about. It's dirty. It's dark. Keep it in the closet. Shh, don't talk about it. And now it's important to know. The more you communicate with your partner, your partners, if you're in a different kind of relationship, the more you can connect on that deep emotional level. And through that kind of sexual energy, you're moving emotions. So it's all connected. Creative energy, sexual energy, life energy, emotional energy, all those things are connected to each other. And the more you can let those things flow, the happier you'll be. The more connected, the more aligned, the more in flow you'll be. And when we're in flow, like you said, we feel really good. It's when we're resisting and we get these blockages that things get stuck and you just can't get it to move, and it feels heavy and it feels painful and it feels really difficult. So it's all connected. It's all a part of the same energy and the same force, as you were saying. Everything is connected. Everything. And the more we can embrace and be open to the human experience in all its forms, the happier and the more in flow you'll be.
I love this conversation so much. You guys don't know this out there, but so I haven't asked Lalita any questions, but she's answering all of them. Mentally, literally the question that I would have asked if you wouldn't have just shared what you just shared is, okay, so share this, because what I love is all the stuff we talked about at the beginning of the episode applies to all areas of life. And then, especially when it comes to our sexuality and our sexual experience and our sexual life force energy, for me, it's just by far my favorite part of life, because I've found it as the way to feel these energetic frequencies that we can't even describe in words. Whether you're in a traditional relationship or a non-traditional relationship, or you're single and you're just exploring, just enjoying life. What I love knowing is that if you choose to, because we're all co-creating, this life and just all these different things that we're doing, it's just one big co-creation, all 7.7 billion of us on this earth. And if you do choose to experience a sexual experience with someone and you're super present to it, and you're just there with that person and you're just wanting to see how amazing both of you can enjoy and experience that experience, where the frequency can go is we don't have words to describe it. And this is what I want people, this is why I like talking about this, because it's by far my favorite part of life. I don't talk about any other element of life like I'm talking about this right now, like this, because it's just something that once you realize that we're unlimited when it comes to energy, when it comes to frequency, and even if, because a lot of people will say, well, I need to know someone for a while in order to be able to love them. Well, the way that maybe we were taught love, maybe, but the way that it really is, it's a frequency, it's energy, and it's right now in the moment, just like everything else. Love is just a label, So yeah, you can say I love this person, but are you being loved right now? Maybe you pass a lie detector test if someone asks you, do you love them? But if you're yelling at them, screaming at them, throwing something at them, are you being loved right now in the moment? I don't think we would call that love. So, I love knowing that, because that means that any human being that I spend time with, whether it be sexual or non-sexual, I get to choose if I'm going to be that light, if I'm going to be that love. And then from there, if we're both coming together in a sexual union, my gosh, what we can experience together. I like to ask Lalita when I've had, because here's what I believe about life to be true. When we get to the end of our lives, the parts that we'll remember the most, if we have a chance to think back, are going to be the parts with a really strong energetic charge. And it could be some traumatic moments if we think about that. It doesn't have to be all joyful, blissful, but it won't really be the cool person that I met that one time at the grocery store. Yeah, cool experience, but not enough strong enough energetic charge to where we're really going to think about it, unless it leads to other more strong energetic charges. So when it comes to these sexual experiences, it's I love to say at the end of a really awesome experience, do you think any of the 7.7 billion humans on the planet are having as much fun as we're having right now? And I hope that they are, because it's not a competition or anything, but it can only be a tie, because could anybody really feel better than us right now? Because this is awesome. And I just live for those experiences and want to experience as many awesome experiences no matter what I'm doing. I just haven't found anything in this human experience that allows my energy to go there, a sexual connection with someone. So happy that you brought that up, because this is where I was wanting to lead the conversation to, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we seem to have a mind link of some sort because we keep answering questions for each other before asking, which is awesome. I do want to go back to something you just said, though, that I think is really important, which is you can say you love somebody, but are you being loved in the relationship? And, you know, what we're taught love is, I encourage people to question if that's all it is. Because I've had experiences like you're describing where it goes beyond that level. And it's something that I never thought existed until I experienced it. And I was like, whoa, this is like way more intense. And I feel things like I've never been told about before. And it takes you to a whole nother level. A lot of what we're taught love is, in terms of emotions, is attachment. It's actually attachment and possessiveness at times. Like I am, me and this person are together, and therefore now there's certain expectations, there are certain projections that I'm going to put onto this person. There are certain feelings that I'm going to make this person responsible for. And when they don't live up to those expectations, they don't fulfill those emotional responsibilities I give them, then I have this really visceral reaction, and that takes me out of love, so to speak. Love is actually, it's hard. I'm wondering if you have words to describe what love feels like on an energetic frequency level, because when we try to explain love for a person, there's movies and songs and all these things that kind of say, oh, this is what love is. But if you let go of the expectations and the projections and the labels and the box construct that love is shoved into, it's so much more than that. And it's none of that. It's none of the attachment and the expectations, and it's something that is just so fluid and changes shape that it's hard to describe outside of the labels that we're given. There are no labels that describe it, really. So I do struggle to explain how that feels to people, because we have learned to equate love to these very specific constructs and labels, and it's more like an attachment than actual love, if that makes sense.
It does. I have a beautiful way to describe it, Lalita. I'm happy that you asked.
Perfect.
Initially, what Lalita was describing is so important, because when she was describing like the different constructs of a relationship and what we were taught, what most of us do, and I was like the king of this in all areas of life, as far as wanting to manipulate and control the outside, the external, in order to feel a certain way internally, which for anybody that's started going through their personal growth and evolution journey, we know that's fleeting. Like, you can have the external be a certain way, and like maybe you feel happy for a moment, but you're not going, if it's not coming from within and reflecting, like, it's not going to be ongoing. And so that was something I was always reaching for, things outside. And in relationships, like, you want them to be this way, this way, this way. And if they're not this way, if they're not showing you the attention that you want, if they're not doing these things for you and not being a certain way, then you're not happy. And like, you make sure to show them that you're not happy so that they change. So just trying to manipulate the outside. You treat me this way, then I'll be happy. You treat me this way, I'll be not happy. Like, a lot of us experience a big chunk of life that way, and that ain't it, guys. that's not. There's a different way for sure. And when it comes to like how to describe love, it's really simple. It's just when you know that you're connected again with all that is God, love, universe, the divine, spirit, source, whatever you want to call it, infinite intelligence, and you know that you're connected by the way that you feel. So if you feel like you're at least at peace. And anything where there's more momentum going than that, where you're excited, where you're happy, you're passionate, like when you're in those frequencies where, you're being that connection, you're being that light, you're being an example of the divine, you're just an expression of it. Then when you look at another human being and you're spending time with a human being, all you can look at them from is through the lenses, for the eyes of love. Like, that's all you can experience, because if you choose to then look at them through the eyes of like condemning or judging, well, now you're not connected with the divine in that moment. Now we have to label you as something different: frustrated, anxious, worried, angry, upset. You're in kind of a jerk frequency. If you want to look at someone through that lens. So it's very simple. And when you know that you're connected, it's really fun to spend time with people from that place. And like the rest, for me, the rest of the planet doesn't exist when I'm like present in the moment with another human being. It could be me just like waiting across the street. And if I leave the house and I'm like connected and just feeling good, like you never know. Like I might pay attention to something. A beautiful bird might fly by, and there might be somebody right here. I'm like, "Ooh, you see that bird?" And then now we're having a conversation, and it might be like a 30-second conversation, but we're connected. Like I'm being loved right there. They're being loved if they're able to experience that moment with me, and that's that. And then obviously, as you let the energies intensify, like a lot of times, what we label love, or like when you're feeling those energies, especially when we're trying to manipulate the outside, and someone's like putting a ton of their like loving energy and attention on you. Like that feels so good. So like a lot of times we like to label that feeling love. Not that that's not love, but I'm just saying if we can cultivate that from within and be that, and then every experience can be that, and then also intensified versions of that as momentum carries our energy to places where we don't have words to describe it. So I don't know if I just made it more complicated to understand or easier, but I feel like it started off simple and then got more complicated. So go back to the beginning of that explanation. When you're connected, you're being loved.
Yeah, it's kind of a complicated subject. It goes so much deeper than what we experience at that surface level. So it's hard to really explain that without going deeper. You can't just be like, it's this thing, because that is again a label, and it's not what it is. I think it's important also to mention that this applies to all relationships, not just romantic sexual relationships, any kind of platonic relationship, and the relationship that you have with yourself too. It's really important to remember to not put labels on yourself, to put labels on your family members, your friends, and a lot of what we see in relationships in our modern society is there's different kinds of attachments, right? There's anxious attachment, there's avoidant attachment, there's a whole bunch of other ones as well, but the more common ones that people actually know of are anxious and avoidant. And then secure is when you are actually a healthy attachment style. And what we usually see is anxious, avoidant people coming together where one person is like clinging and trying so hard to connect and like gets more and more anxious, while the other person becomes more and more avoidant because they're saying, this is too much, this is making me feel weird, like, and they back up and the other person comes forward, and it's like this kind of push-pull, unhealthy dynamic of nobody's needs are getting met and nobody's feeling good, because that's not in love. That's coming from a place of labels and trauma and projection, and it's okay to be in that place. Like, if that's where you are, that's okay. But becoming mindful of it and doing the work to heal that is crucial. It's very, very, very important. I used to be an anxious attachment style. So I was the one that was constantly like, love me, love me, love me, love me. And then I recently swung avoidant, and I am the one that's like, give me space, give me space, give me space. But because I'm aware of that, I've been doing a bunch of work on both ends, and I'm starting to come into secure attachment, which feels really good because it's in flow and it's in alignment. So anyone who's watching, I would encourage you to find out what your attachment style is. There are quizzes you can take online that will tell you, so that you can start to do that inner work to heal that, because that's super important for being love and coming into alignment with flow.
And that's the most important part of all of it. I love how you said that, because regardless of whether you're bringing that to an intimate relationship or friendship or business partnership, or just discovering that for yourself, most importantly, because really for me, a happy relationship in whatever context, intimate, non-intimate, business partnership, friendship, is just two connected people connected with the divine in the moment coming together. And that's a happy relationship. If one person is like not in a great mood and the other person is, yeah, you can help bring the person up. You can have compassion for them, not judging them or making them wrong, because that's part of the human experience, and you've been there as well. If they're choosing that they just need to experience this for a while and like they're not really feeling, if one person decides that they're just like, they're determined to stay like frustrated, anxious, and upset, and that's cool. I'm not saying that they're wrong for it. And the other person's like, I'm going to stay like connected and just like at peace, and like this is where I like to be. In those moments, those two people aren't going to want to like chill. Like they're not going to want to hang out. The frequencies are too different. So what a lot of times happens, and this is totally been here. I'm sure we've all been here. Is maybe the person that was in a, they were in a good mood, and then this person's having a rough time. And then all of a sudden, maybe compassion is not something that they're, to me, when I say compassion, it's being able to maintain our frequency, even if someone is not having, even if someone else is having a rough time. So I can still maintain and still be loved, even if someone around me is maybe having a difficult experience. Then I can actually experience life with them and even pull them up. Like, it'll feel good to that person that you're not judging them and you're not like making them wrong for it. They still might not want to hang. I've had people say, "Noel, you're way too much for me right now. Like, I don't want to go there," and it's all good. Like, we can play together when we're in a different space. But what I won't do anymore, and I've done this, is blame that person for, I was in such a good mood, and then like you're always in this crap mood. Like, I was in such a good mood before you came around. Like, we just gave away all our power. That feels terrible for them. That feels terrible for you. And now you're both in a crap frequency. Maybe it starts an argument, or who knows. So. I just like to simplify it in knowing that all I can control is if I'm going to be connected in the moment or not. I'm not going to make others wrong whether they are or not, but just knowing that I'm going to be, like when we walk into a room and we're being the light, we light up the whole room, and the people that want to play with us in those frequencies will be attracted to us. The people that don't, we can still pull them up, and we can respectfully allow them to experience life however they're wanting to experience life right now. And so to me, that makes it simplified. Oh, last thing that I want to share. I knew there was something else and it would pop right in. Last thing until Lalita inspires the next thing that I want to share. So what I really love just knowing about just any relationship, and then for me, if I'm choosing to spend time with anyone and I'm like focusing on all that I can control, which is what's my right now vibe, like I'm giving 100% presence to whatever it is that I'm choosing to experience, and especially when it comes to interacting with other human beings, and especially in intimate relationships, like literally the rest of the planet will not exist, because I know that the way that we're going to be able to enjoy this experience the most, whatever we're doing, is if I'm putting 100% presence and attention into it, not bringing my physical body here, but mentally thinking, should I really be doing this, or is this going well, or like maybe I should try this or do that. Like, and we bring that into like the sexual nature as well. Like if we're experiencing like an intimate experience with someone, a sexual experience with someone, questioning whether or not like they're enjoying it, or am I doing things right, or all these things, that just doesn't allow the energy to go where it can go. Like you're not going to enjoy that as much. Your partner can feel that. Like it's just, I'm all about bringing my 100% version of Noel with me wherever I'm choosing to go, because we're free. Like nobody's like, if you're watching this podcast right now, nobody's dragging you anywhere. Like you have power of choice. So if you choose it, then just actually go experience it, as best you can. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important. You know how we were talking about taking responsibility for people's emotions. We also do that with experiences. So we take responsibility for how the other person's experience is going, and we don't really have control over that. We can do our best to kind of be present, like you were saying, and really just be there with the person and really show up for them. But if they're not here with you, that's not your responsibility. And that's, if someone says to me, "Oh, I didn't have a good time because of you," that's projection. That's not because of you. That's them projecting onto you that it's your fault and it has nothing to do with you. I used to very much do the whole worrying if the other person was having a good time thing. And neither of us ever had a good time, because it was just like me just in my head the whole time being like, I don't know if I'm doing a good job or any of these things. And then when I started switching and being present, just being present with the experience and the feelings and the person, that's when everything started kind of excelling to a point where it's up here. Like you were saying, it's this frequency that is beyond the labels and everything else that we give sex and relationships and intimacy and all of that. So you're only responsible for your own emotions and your own experience, and the best you can do is just show up fully and be present and shine your light. That is your only responsibility, is yourself, and just showing up authentically and fully in every experience, sexual or otherwise.
Absolutely. I love it. It's so much fun, this conversation. You just inspired me to share one quick thing that is so important that will allow everybody listening to enjoy life even more when we become aware of this. So I love knowing that when it comes to like energy and frequency, especially when you're spending time with someone else, like if we're present, like we've been talking about, we can feel their energy as it rises as well. And we can really almost like we can tap into that and almost like using their energy to feel even better ourselves, and they can do the same. So it's this like energetic dance where the frequency can keep rising, which is why human connection and like experiences with other human beings for me are my favorite parts of life, because I like feeling other. I'll give you an example sexually. So I didn't always know that this was possible. I've always, when I was younger, I would be really envious of ladies out there because you guys are able to have like orgasm and not stop the sexual experience. Like it would like you guys could have multiple and just like keep going. I'm like, damn, you had multiple, and I'm gonna have one at the end, and that's how I thought that it was. That's how I thought it was possible for guys. Guys out there, I've been enjoying sharing this with you guys because when you discover this, like life is really, really fun. You can, if you are present and you feel the energy, now it's at the point where, as my partner is having an orgasm, like her energy is way up. Like it makes me orgasm too, but I don't have to like actually ejaculate. I can actually have a full body, like energetic one, like you're having, but we don't have to stop the experience. So it can become this like, that's why I say like words like don't describe it. Like we don't have labels for this part of life, and this is only something that I discovered. Nobody like taught me this. I knew it was possible. So that's the first thing. That's why I'm sharing with you guys right now, because once you know it's possible, then you can allow like the hows will find you when they're ready. But really it was more about just choosing to live my life on a day-by-day basis and making being at peace important to me. Being aware of my energy, meditating first thing in the morning, and actually practicing living my life in frequencies that just felt good, not requiring like this bliss that I'm talking about and beyond, but just at peace. Like if I can live like that, it became a practice so that, and here's the most important thing, if you go into an experience that is, we would consider something that's a fun part of life for you, no matter what it is, sexual or non-sexual, but you go into that experience and your energy's already in an awesome place, and you allow the experience to take you to places like way beyond, versus saying, oh, I'm in a crap mood, I need to go get a massage. Nothing wrong with that, but I'm just saying the massage will be even better if you get your frequency to where you're feeling good, you're at peace, and then go get the massage and let the massage like take you up to another place. It's a totally different experience. And plus, if you need the massage or the sexual experience or the whatever it is in order to feel good, it's fleeting. Because once you're done with it, now you go back to where you were before, and maybe even worse because you're like, damn, that didn't even work. So now I feel even more crappy. So
yeah, and that's where the emotional flow comes into. The more you let your emotions flow, the more internal peace you're going to have, instead of having to seek it from external sources all the time.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so awesome, Lalita. Do you want to share anything with the audience that I feel like I need to ask you a question? Notice I haven't asked Lalita any questions since the first one, and we've just been flowing back and forth the whole time, which they're always fun when that's the case. So I really appreciate you for everything you've shared so far. But anything you're excited about right now that you want the audience to know, like what you're up to and what you're working on, or anything at all that you want to share?
Sure. I'm actually going to be working on a emotions course, a mini course that teaches you certain practices to work with each emotion so that you can let it flow easier. I'm actually really excited about it. I haven't really found anything online that teaches people how to do this. And I think right now in particular with like everything that's changing and the chaos that's happening and this different time period that we're moving into, it's really important to be able to work with emotions that are coming up for us, because a lot of it is, the heavier emotions that we're taught to suppress. So I'm going to be releasing a course on how to work with those emotions and let them flow through you easier so that you can get to that higher energetic frequency that we've been talking about. That'll be coming out in a few weeks. And I also do coaching, so if anybody feels really called to work with me, reach out. Or if you just want to talk, it's not just about, hey, come and work with me. If you need someone to talk to and you just need an ear to listen or someone to kind of validate the experience you're having, please reach out to me on social media. I'm always happy to talk to people and make new connections like the one we did. I'm so excited that I got to be here. Thank you for reaching out and having me. This conversation was awesome.
I'm not done with you. I'm not done with you just yet. Don't end it just yet.
Perfect.
I just felt like I needed to ask you a question and wanted you to share.
On me.
No,
Let's keep going.
You guys definitely, I will say, like the energy you're feeling from Lalita this whole conversation, like reach out to her if you're inspired. Definitely follow her on social media. And I'm such a big fan of taking inspired action, using those energetic nudges where you're like, oh, she's awesome. Like some of the things she's sharing right now are really resonating. Like even if it's just a first step of following her and, going to explore some of the things she's sharing or taking a course or doing whatever, great idea and great next step on any of our journeys when we have those energetic nudges. So highly recommend and encourage, because the energy that you're sharing and just the relatability that you have is awesome. Like I love like how you're sharing, like the things you're sharing as well. And we haven't even gotten, a lot of times I'll ask people why they were inspired to start sharing the things they're sharing and doing the type of coaching that they're coaching. We didn't even get into that. We just dove right into like just awesome like sharing. So but no, this has definitely been really fun. I guess what I would really want to know from you, and you've been doing it the whole time, so you could easily say, just refer to the rest of our conversation if you want to answer this way. But knowing that the internet will be around like for quite some time, I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon. And conversations like these will just live on, like probably long after you were gone, 500 years from now or 100 years from now, however long we're still here. We'll still be around in the non-physical, so you guys can still reach out, say hello to Lalita and I when you're inspired. But anything you want to share, that it could be any topic, any subject that you want humanity to know whenever they're hearing this, whether it's right now live, when this comes out in a few weeks, or 100 years from now, anything that flows out of you.
Yeah, the one message that I constantly feel compelled to share with people is that wherever you are at right now is okay. I think we so often we judge our own experience, and we're taught to do that. And we think that if we're not on top of our game, always at the top, always happy, always doing well, that there's something wrong with us and we're not, we're like an anomaly of some sort. And I want people to know that this is it's normal. The cycles are normal, but wherever you are right now, it is okay to be there. Give yourself permission to be okay with the fact that it's okay to not be okay. If you may have seen it on my social media, I shared a couple days ago a post about how I'm not okay right now, and that's okay. I'm moving through some heavy emotions. We all are, because this is bringing up a lot, and that is okay. It is okay to not be okay. You don't have to be perfect all the time. It's okay to be where you're at and to know that it's temporary and that you're learning really important lessons when you're in those spaces. So while it doesn't feel great, I also celebrate not being okay, because I know that I'm learning something really important that's going to move me to that next level. So just know it's okay to be where you're at, and that it's not permanent. It will pass, and we're all in this together. If you need support, reach out to someone, reach out to me, reach out to Noelle, reach out to your friends, your family, your loved ones. It's okay to ask for support. It's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to be where you're at. We're all worthy of love as we are. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. You're worthy as you are. So I just think it's really important for people to remember that we're all in this together right now. It's really hard, and it's okay. It's okay to be where we are. It's 100% okay. It's not okay to just decide to not do the work, but it is okay to be where you are. So
I love it. Such a beautiful message. And my favorite part about these conversations, Lita, and this one with you, is everything that we're affirming for anyone listening. There's no like special breed of human that only they are like the outlier to the things that we're sharing. Like, because we're all just different expressions of the same non-physical energy. Like, I love affirming for humanity, just truths that I become aware of. You're doing the same thing. Everybody that I'm co-creating with when it comes to this space, like, we're just affirming things that is true for every single one of us. And I want to affirm, something else for everybody out there, which will make you very excited to know that everything is okay, just like Lalita is saying, and just realize that all life is like a movie, and you guys are all the stars of your individual movie. And even if right now the scene in your movie, just like any movie that you've seen, the whole movie is not just like jolly and like bliss and like everything's like, you've never seen one movie where it's like the whole movie from start to finish just like happy movie. Like that would get like old. We're like, all right, like is there any drama in this? Because it's just like, okay, the next thing's gonna be this, the next thing's gonna be this. Got it. So that's not how any movie goes, and that's not how any of our lives go. So regardless of what the scene looks like right now, what I want to affirm for everyone, and what I want everybody to know to be true is whatever your life up until right now has caused you to know that you desire, which you wouldn't be as clear as you are without all of the challenging experiences and the great experiences. You wouldn't be as clear as you are today about what you would like the future scenes in the movie to look like. You wouldn't even know that if it weren't for those. So all I want for everybody to know to be true is that those scenes that you want to see in your movie, where it comes to like relationships or health goals or career goals or whatever it is, every area of life, like those are already there waiting for you in your movie. Like those are already done. And you're on the scene that you're in right now. Awesome. Whether it's like your most favorite scene or the hardest scene that you've experienced in your life, but just know that there will be a next scene. And, you know, the sooner that you can not, you know, just beat yourself up and make yourself wrong for the scene that you're on, and you can just say, okay, this is the scene that I'm on. It's actually, even though this relationship was the most difficult one that I've ever had, now I know that I want this, and this in a relationship. And I'm actually really excited because I heard there's 7.7 billion humans out there. And so I'm sure there's some that also want these things that I want. So I'm excited for that scene in the movie. But I'm going to get back to doing the only thing that I can control is what version of Noel, what version of Lalita, what version of you out there are you going to bring to this moment, to this scene? Because really those scenes don't exist. When you get to those scenes, like you'll still be in this scene right here. You're always in the right now scene. The scenes even in the past. Those are memories. Those are things, or lessons there. Some great experiences, some challenging experiences. But you're still in the scene that you're in right now. So we can all have a lot of peace just knowing that we get to choose what version of ourselves we want to bring to this scene right here and now. All of us get to choose right now, right now, right now. That's all we'll ever get to choose. And just know by choosing that and continuing to move forward, all those scenes in the movie, you'll get to experience those unless you doubt that you will, or unless that you choose that you want to stay in this ongoing scene where you're just like, I'm just going to be angry every day for the rest of my life. It might be a really dramatic movie. You know, it might be a long, long drawn out, lots of drama. If that's what you want to experience, nothing wrong with that. Experience it. Personally, I know there's going to be drama in my movie in some spaces, but I want a lot of bliss. I want lots of fun experiences that are like, damn, this movie is exciting. Like it's all these different places in the world, meeting all these cool different people, having all these fun life experiences. That's the movie for my life I want to see. So I invite everybody out there to ask yourself what you'd like to see on your movie, knowing you're as clear as today as you've ever been. Great news, you'll be more clear tomorrow, next week, next month. Those days aren't promised to us, but when you get there, you'll be more clear because you're going to live more life today and so on. So that's what I want to affirm for everyone, because I love all you guys out there, and I just want to see all you living awesome movies, because at some phases of your movie, I might show up and be a co-star with you, and we get to enjoy, like now we have, co-created scenes, just like me and Lalita are doing right now.
Creating a scene, a good one. This is a great scene.
It is really fun. I knew we were gonna have fun. I always affirm that it's gonna be fun, and I always know it will be, because I know what frequency we're gonna play at, and it can go anywhere. I have no idea what we're gonna talk about, but we talked about some good things, and I'm happy for the people that are hearing this live. Oh, live video ended. Glad I just looked down at Instagram. I shared it just in time. If you don't catch it on Instagram, it doesn't stay there. So caught that. But I really appreciate you, Lalita, and this has been fun. I'll check really quick to see if there's anybody that's asked a question on Facebook, even though I told you.
Yeah, let's see.
Tammy said, very powerful, informative conversation. Appreciate you, Tammy. I wanted to shout out to Tooth Fairy. Was it Tooth Fairy Wit? She said some awesome things. So I'll make sure that she's in this episode. I appreciate you. I saw all your comments, but I didn't want to stop Lalita's flow. But appreciate you for saying all your beautiful comments. She said that you played some role in her experience in somewhere. I was going to read it off, but it's gone now, so I'll find it on the comments later. But she has very nice things to say.
She and I met a couple years ago, and we've crossed paths several times. She's a wonderful person, and I adore her. So I'm glad that she was in here with us.
Well, she was. I have to look at her page and see how I've connected with her. But she was like, "Oh my gosh, how did you two connect?" Like it was like one of those things. Like she just she just saw me live and then saw it was you and got super excited.
I love her.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I really appreciate you, and this has been so much fun. And I'm affirming that this is our first co-creation and not our last. Definitely want to co-create some more stuff. This is a lot of fun. And you guys share this episode for sure. Follow Lalita and connect with her in any way that you're inspired to. And appreciate you guys that have been or subscribing and rating and reviewing the podcast. You're making it easier for people to find. iTunes does not have a 1 review limit. I've just found this out. So feel free to go there and leave another review for this episode. Say that Lalita human was so awesome, and I learned these things, and I'll screenshot it and send it to her, make sure that she sees it. And just appreciate you guys. We're all in this together. I love that you affirm that, because I love affirming that as much as possible. And it just brings, when we affirm that, it just is a reminder that we are all connected and we're not separate. We're not. That's an illusion. And I'm just excited to see where things are evolving for us individually and then collectively. And we're just evolving to an even more beautiful place that we get to experience here in 2020 and beyond. So thank you, Lalita. Thank you, all of you out there. And we'll talk to you guys soon in another episode. Have an amazing day. Oh my gosh, so much fun.
This was so good.
So much fun. Well, let me end the stream and I'm going to say bye to you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, streaming humans.